What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with 7 reasons to avoid the OnePlus Nord N20 5G. So let's get started. Now, just to clarify, in general, I think this phone is actually very good, and it also really offers a lot of value. So I'm a big fan of the device, but this is a list of a variety of different things that I do wish were different here with the phone, and also things that I definitely want you to be aware of prior to getting the device, because some of these features that are missing here with the phone might be certain things that you already have on your current device and you're expecting any Android smartphone to have. So I definitely don't want you to get this phone and then later on be disappointed. Now, coming in at number 1 is the 60 Hz refresh rate. Now, up until several years ago, pretty much every smartphone had a 60 Hz refresh rate. Essentially, that's the frame rate of the display when it moves. But starting in, I believe, 2017 or so, we started to see higher end Android phones get 120 Hz as the refresh rate, which means things look a lot smoother and more premium. Then after that, we started seeing more mid-range phones having a 90 Hz refresh rate. And at this point, there's even certain mid-range devices like the Galaxy A53 5G that has 120 Hz. So I guess the point is that it is a bit surprising to see that the OnePlus Nord N20 5G only has 60 Hz as the refresh rate, considering that it seems like most mid-range devices at this point have at least 90. Now, is that a deal breaker? I personally don't think it is, but it is something that you still should be aware of prior to getting the phone. Now, coming in at number 2, that is the lack of the ability to record videos at 4K. Now, at this point in 2022, you certainly can get by if your smartphone only records video in 1080p, which is the case here with this phone. But that being said though, there are a lot of people that have 4K TVs in their home, and if you are recording videos in 4K, that is going to make those videos look a lot clearer in the future, because who knows, maybe 10 or 20 years from now, 4K won't even be good enough. There might be 8K or even higher that's kind of the standard. So I guess what I mean by this is that you kind of want to future-proof yourself with whatever phone you end up getting. And I know for me at least, I do tend to record most of my videos in 1080p, just so that it doesn't take up a ton of space on the device itself. But at the same time, I still appreciate at least having 4K as an option. So with this phone, there is no option for 4K video recording. Another problem with that as well is that a lot of the competitors to this device, like the Galaxy A53 5G for example, have 4K for both the rear and front cameras for video. So considering that a good portion of the competition has that feature, makes me think that this phone should have that as well. Coming in at number 3 definitely has to be the build materials of this device. Now, the phone does feature all plastic besides the display, which is of course made out of glass. So the good news is that the overall fit and finish and build of this device is very good in the sense that the phone does look a lot more premium than it is. But on the other hand, I do feel like all this plastic will end up getting scratched as time goes on. So you definitely should get a case to pair up with this phone if you end up getting it. One thing I am at least thankful for with this device is that we do have this matte finish on the back of the phone, so it doesn't really pick up too many fingerprints. That's definitely a lot better compared to a device that has a glossy back, for example. So I definitely do like the various design and material choices that OnePlus went with this device, but keep in mind that if your current phone is made out of metal or glass, then this phone's definitely not going to be as durable in comparison. Now, coming in at number 4 is no wireless charging with the OnePlus Nord N20 5G. Now, wireless charging is a feature that you tend to see with higher end and some mid-range phones, so it's not really surprising that we don't get it here with this device. But on the other hand, if your current phone does have wireless charging and you're getting this phone as an upgrade, and you're expecting that all modern Android smartphones have wireless charging, then you are going to be in for a surprise since we don't have it here with this device. Everybody's situation is different. I know some people switch to save money. Maybe they had a flagship device before and they want to switch to a mid-range instead. Some people have very budget devices that don't have a ton of features at all, and they're switching to this device as an upgrade to pick up certain features that their current phone doesn't have. So again, everybody's situation is different, so just keep in mind what this phone has and what it doesn't have, so that if you happen to switch over to it, you're not going to have any regrets. Now, coming in at number 5 is having no ultra-wide angle camera. Now, with this device, we do have a triple camera setup on the back, but we have a 64 megapixel standard camera, a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode, and a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images, but there is no ultra-wide angle camera. Now this is especially disappointing because there are quite a few devices that this phone does compete against that do have ultra-wide angle cameras, so I really wish that we did have it here with this phone. Now I know for some people, they absolutely must have an ultra-wide angle camera, other people are indifferent, and some people have no desire to have that feature at all. Now for me at least, I do appreciate having an ultra-wide camera because there are a lot of situations where I typically do use that, and it's definitely not a feature that I feel like is gimmicky. There's times where I want to take a picture of a large building, for example, or maybe I'm taking a picture of an entire room and I want the whole room to fit in one frame. Well, usually you can only achieve that with an ultra-wide camera, so not having that is disappointing. I'm not sure if it's a complete deal breaker because this phone does have a lot of things going for it, but at the same time, it is something that I am definitely disappointed that we don't have here. Now, thankfully for the cameras that we do have with this device, they are very good. So the main camera really takes nice looking pictures, great colors as well. We can switch over to the macro camera to get nice and close up. So I don't feel like that's quite as useful as having an ultra wide camera, but at the same time, I'm still glad that we have it. Of course, you've got portrait mode for those blurred out backgrounds. And then we can flip around to the front-facing camera and either do portrait selfies or standard selfies as well. So despite this being a mid-range device, I am at least very thankful that we have as many cameras as we do have here. So who knows, maybe you'll end up getting this phone and you find yourself using all the various cameras quite often, and then that gives you a further justification to spend even more money on your next device to really have the best of the best when it comes to mobile photography. Now coming in number 6 is the software. Now this device currently has Android 11, and that's already disappointing enough because Android 12 has been out for a long time, and Android 13 is actually going to be out pretty soon as well. So OnePlus is already pretty behind here right out of the gate. But to make matters even worse, OnePlus is only giving their Nord devices one major Android software update. So considering that we have Android 11 now, this phone is only going to be getting Android 12, and that's it. So seriously, OnePlus, come on. This really isn't a good thing, especially when your competition is providing way more, especially Samsung with their A series devices. They're giving 4 years of major software updates with the A53 5G specifically, and also some other phones in the A series. And I believe for even the very low-end devices in the A series, they're giving them 2 years of major software updates. So this is a major disappointment for OnePlus. Now the good thing is that even if you have an outdated version of Android on your device, you are going to be able to use it with pretty much every app out there, and OnePlus is going to give these phones at least 3 years of major security updates. So that's awesome and everything, but at the same time, it really would have been nice if they could just give this phone a few more updates beyond just Android 12, considering again that Android 12 is going to be phased out for Android 13 pretty soon. So they really could have done much better when it comes to this, and I really hope they change their update policy in the future. Hopefully the pressure from some of the competition ends up kind of convincing them to change their mind, because at the end of the day, that'll help all consumers. Now coming in at number 7, that is there is no stereo audio with the OnePlus Nord N20 5G. Now there are some other devices in the mid-range segment that do have stereo audio. I know I keep mentioning the Galaxy A53 5G, but that phone does have stereo audio. And what I mean by stereo audio is that when you're watching a video or listening to music, for example, you'll get audio coming out of both the main speaker and also the earpiece. Now that's a really great thing because it makes the audio sound a lot better, a lot louder, a lot clearer, and just higher quality in general. So the good news though with this phone is that the main speaker is really good, but again, compared to some of the competition out there, I do wish that this phone did have stereo audio instead. So let me show you an example. Gotten from Boost in a long time. You can see, I can just cover up the one speaker on the bottom here, and we can barely hear anything. Whereas with another device that has stereo audio, you'd be hearing audio out of here and there. So if you're going to hold the phone sideways and watch a video, for example, you're going to be getting a very immersive audio listening experience. So it's not necessarily something that's a deal breaker, but at the same time, again, the competition does tend to offer that feature. So it would be great if we had that here as well with this device. But this concludes 7 reasons to avoid the OnePlus Nord N20 5G. Again, overall, I really like this phone. I feel like it's a really good deal. So I do recommend it, but those are all things though that I think you'll want to keep in mind prior to getting it, just so that if you end up getting the phone, you don't have any surprises about any of those features not being available. So I hope you liked the video and found it to be helpful. Hopefully you learned something new today, but this is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next one.